Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for another ROLINC Recruiting Roundup. I am your host and our Director of Marketing here at ROLINC, Jasmine Weber, and I have a very exciting edition of our Fireside Chat with an outside expert to bring her coaching expertise to our clients and network. We have Coach M, as we know her, or Emma Doyle. Coach M, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate everything that ROLINC does, and looking forward to this chat with you.
Me too. A little bit of background for those of you that don't know. ROLINC got to go through and participate in one of Coach M's trainings, and it is some of the highest praises we've received from our team in terms of trainings. And I'm not just saying that because you're here. Everyone was coming to us like, this was the best training that we've been through. We're taking things not only day to day for teamwork and management, but personal lives. I know there were things I was writing down that I wanted to do every morning for myself outside of work to be a better person. And that was something everyone had to say. So super excited to share some of the training topics that we went through with Coach M. And I want to give a little background and brag on her a little bit before we jump into those. She has such a cool background that she brings to the space. She was a high performance tennis coach for world teams in Australia. She was a Division I tennis player. She has taken this coaching approach in these high stress games and then turned that into corporate coaching, really helping maximize teams when it comes to culture, coaching, how they perform under pressure. She's an Amazon bestseller. She has her own podcast, the Coaching Podcast. She has TEDx Talks. She is all over the place, and we had a blast learning from her. She takes a super different approach to any coaching we've had. Some of the things we talked about with her were the 6 human needs, resiliency, which is now one of our core values here at ROLINC. So we took that one to heart, effective communication, and champion mindset. So we're going to dive into those topics today. Before we start, though, Coach M, anything I missed on introducing you?
Well, I just would love to say that I haven't been in Colorado that long. So when it does start snowing, I do go to Australia from January to April. Because I shouldn't be driving on the other side of the road, let alone when the snow comes down. And and I love the fact that I have 4 months back in my home country, and then I'm here. I'm based out of Denver, Colorado for 8 months of the year. I just want to also say that your visionary leader, Adrian, he and I met at a conference and we instantly connected on values. So you brought it up already, resiliency being added in there. But I think one of the things I love about working with ROLINC is their values are not just words on a wall. They're actually, I can feel it when I went into your office. I could feel it when I delivered the training, that there's a real sense of the other values coming through in the behaviors. And every time also I see Alexis or Josh at a conference, the smile and the energy that they bring to the company is so cool. And it was honestly one of my highlights as well, working with your company. So thank you so much.
That.
For
we
that
love
introduction.
That. You fit in like family, and I know our team's going to be excited to listen into this again because we all can't get enough of your energy and just the insights that you bring. So I'm excited to dive right in here. Let's kick it off with the way we started in our training, which is the 6 human needs. So we'll start there. I'll kick it off to you.
Beautiful. Thank you. So quick backstory. I was 23 years of age. So just the other day. And I had my first tennis coaching business. It was called Tennis Innovations. And I wanted to be innovative. And so I paid $300 for 1 hour of this gentleman's time. His name was Martin Hall, and he ran Hall's Taekwondo in Melbourne, Australia. And I had not only trained with him when I was a teenager to help my tennis game in Taekwondo, but he also had a number of businesses that were very successful. And I thought, how is he doing it? And $300 for me for 1 hour of somebody's time back then, I was like, oh my goodness, like, what am I doing? And it was a wonderful investment on a number of different levels. But I remember, he gave me more than 1 hour. He was very generous with his time. And right at the very end, he said something that I will never forget. He said, one thing that you need to remember that will show up everywhere in your life, regardless of generation, regardless of gender, race, etc., and that is the 6 human needs. So I'm going to share them with you. I'm going to write them on the whiteboard. I don't even know if this is audio or video, but we're going to write it on the whiteboard anyway. Because,
we love it.
All right. So excellent. So the background of where he got them from is from Tony Robbins, so the motivational speaker. So that's where they originate from. But Martin Hall was the one who gave them to me. And you'll see as I go through each one, Jasmine, you'll see examples of where it starts to show up in your life and in your business. So the first one, okay, is certainty. Certainty. Okay. Now, if you think about that, everybody needs to know what time is the appointment at ROLINC, what is the interview going to be about, how do I need to prepare as much information as they can. What they need is certainty. Now, Jasmine, here's the cool thing. The second human need is actually uncertainty. So that's the crazy
Interesting
part.
Yeah.
The second one is uncertainty. So what I mean by that is that everybody in life needs a little bit of variety, needs spice. The classic example is in relationships. You only ever get flowers on Valentine's Day, right? And why not mix it up? Do something spontaneous, do something that people don't expect. And it is something that people do actually crave. The number 3 human need is the number 1 reason why there's conflict in the workplace, and that is significance. So this is making sure that people feel heard, appreciated, valued. Hey, I really appreciate that you stayed extra late last night and you got those 5 extra phone calls in. So significance is a big one. It is one of the reasons people do leave their job. And of course, the other interesting statistic around that is that 70% of time people will leave a job because of a bad manager. So again, just a simple way, but managers to remember to acknowledge people, especially acknowledging great behavior, acknowledging their strengths, etc. So I'll just pause to check in with you there. Any thoughts or questions on the first 3 so far?
Man, I thought the same thing when we had our ROLINC training with the certainty and uncertainty. Because it's like, yeah, everyone wants certainty. I can see that. The uncertainty one, though, people do get complacent. And a lot of times I talk with people that have been 10, 15 years at a company and they're looking to leave because they need a new challenge and they need some, uncertainty in their life. You just don't think of it that way. And then the significance, that is, I can attest as a recruiter talking to folks every day looking to possibly leave their place of employment. It is not just, hey, can I get an extra 15K in my salary? I feel like I've been making a difference and no one recognizes that, or there's no growth. So these are already hitting home for, I hear people talk about these every day.
Fantastic. And the 4th one is belonging. So in our hybrid world, one of the most important things that we need to remember is to bring people together. So whatever your sweet spot is with remote work and in person, you do need to bring people together. This is belonging, this is connection. Some may call it love. Maybe that's a bit too much in the workplace if people don't resonate with that word. But it's, do I feel like I belong in this organization? And it's one of the reasons I do my pickleball team building workshops. The importance of not just have a few drinks. I mean, that's a bit more old school these days, but the concept is the same. We still need to make sure that we bring people together. Now, here's the really interesting thing, Jasmine. is that these are the 4 human needs that everybody needs. This is, imagine like a line now across before I give you 5 and 6, because not everybody craves 5 and 6. And in the land that I work, and also I know in the philosophy of the ROLINC ethos, we do crave human needs 5 and 6. And that number 5 is growth. Okay. We want to grow. We want to learn. We want to constantly be curious. There's a great word called shoshin, which means a beginner's mind. When we're doing anything, if we can come at it through that lens, we come at it with a lens of curiosity. And of course, one of a coach's superpowers is to ask curious questions. It's the world that I love to play in. It's the space that I operate in. It's also very well known that not everybody craves growth. Some people would rather die than change. We know that to be true. Some people just want to rock up, do their job, and then go home. I think that high performance, and I think the way of the future, growth will become more and more significant as it relates to how do you retain talent in the workplace. So I think it is really important, these next 2, as it relates to that. And then finally, the last one is contribute. So this is about giving back. This is about perhaps mentoring someone within your organization. This is about, I went to Africa in August and worked with under-resourced kids and women of Kenya because it's a passion of mine. And I did it off my own bat. I paid my own way and I was contributing to the world, and it really filled my cup. So finding what's that thing that fills your cup, and it might be work related, it might be your organization supports, whatever it might be, it is very, very important. And I know that your visionary leader lives and breathes that as well, to give back and contribute. So this is where we started the workshop, because as you can see now, all 6, that I'm not saying they're scientifically validated, but since I was 23 years of age to however old I am right now, let's just say that I've seen these show up in my personal life and in my professional life continuously. So what are your thoughts?
Same thing. Like I said, especially talking to people looking for work, these are the needs that they bring up. We've had people that have turned down jobs where they could be making 20 grand more, but they didn't feel like they could really contribute. They didn't see the growth. It wasn't a mission they felt like they belonged to or can get behind, and they turned it down.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And that really set the foundation for our first workshop, which was around resiliency. Now, again, as you mentioned, one of your core values, one of the things we started was list all of your current resilience strategies within ROLINC. And there was a lot of different strategies. People already had some things. When I get stressed or feel under pressure, I go for a walk or I do some breathing, which was fantastic. The 2 things that we added to, as I always say, their coaching or leadership toolkit, imagine like a little tool belt, was, and actually, would you believe I have one of my toolkits right here?
Hey.
So let me, we clip these onto our belt like a little toolkit. Is the one around conflict resolution. So one of the things in the workplace you'll notice, as an example, is that not many people have the courage to have those conversations in the moment, and then they build up, and then it backfires, and then all of a sudden either someone's quit their job or the manager's left because it wasn't nipped in the butt, so to speak. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. That's an Aussie expression. Might bring a bit of humour to the episode. But this one here we did at ROLINC. I'm sure you'll remember. It's I call it an airline. It's TFFI. We can fly, because it's got a nice little acronym. We love our acronyms. But it's what's the topic? What are the facts? What are the feeling? What's the impact? Then you take a breath. What is it you actually want? How have you contributed to the situation? Which sort of really ties back in nicely to that 6 human need as well. This is where you win people back over. And then moving forwards, I want to hear from you. I want to hear your perspective. I want to meet in the middle, find a way for us to move forward. It's a great little script. Once you get good at it, it doesn't even feel like a script. But there's subtle things within there that helps people have those courageous conversations, because if you don't have a script, things can go south, things can become too emotional, especially if you lead with the emotions rather than the facts, or it could be observations, or it could be feedback as a softer way to say that as well. As well as we did our little snap release technique for resiliency. Remember that one?
That was a favorite.
Yeah, that was a favorite. Snap. So you're allowed to be mad or angry or upset, right? Well, you hold it up. Then when you snap it down, you say the word stop, and then you insert what you need to do next time. So you go into future-based thinking. So there's, I'm a very practical coach, as you know, and you all got your little laminated toolkit from back in the day. And, these are things that again, I hear, from actual people at ROLINC that they're still using today. Which is awesome. So I'm sure you can attest to that. But that was the next workshop. What are your thoughts on resiliency, Jasmine?
That's a big one for us. I mean, I think as any recruiter, resiliency is a word that's brought up over and over, because this is similar in sales and industries like that where it's cyclic, but you're always chasing your tail. You're always looking to the next month and the next no that you're going to receive from someone, right? Those have to roll off your back. So resiliency in our industry is everything. Like we said, we added it as a core value to ROLINC, and that's inside and outside of work. Resiliency of, there are bad phases or down slopes in life and work, and how do you come out of that? We were talking earlier about control your controllables. I think that becomes part of resiliency and having that mindset. And like you said, we were taking the snap release technique. So many people that started wearing little scrunchies and hair ties at ROLINC that you'd see a little snap, and it's like, all right, let it go, move on. So the resiliency one, I think, hit home for us. Next, we'll go into effective communication. This is another thing that we say at ROLINC. Adrian is a preacher of over communicate rather than under communicate. How can we stay on top of effective communication? So this is another one we love. I'll let you dive into that.
Yeah. Two things come up for me. I love that great minds don't think alike, and see the forest and the trees. So two little quotes there to kick off effective communication, because there are millions of personality profiles out there. Yes. And I'm one of those people that have done just about all of them. Just for interest's sake, of course, always trying to grow, remember, linking back into that fifth human need there. What we did at ROLINC is we simply took 4 behavioral styles. So it was the socializer, the thinker, the director, and the relator. And it wasn't about putting people in a box. It was, the take-home message was about how can I, as a manager, leader, or someone who's even doing a potential interview, adapt my communication to bring out the best in the person in front of me. So obviously we all have a natural style. Mine is high energy, we know that. But if I'm talking to someone who perhaps is more introverted and a thinker, then I'm going to just have to maybe soften my tone and just give people time and space for the conversation to play out in the way that's going to allow them time to think. Because notice that I'm pausing intentionally, even now, in this conversation, and just slowing down, because that is the person who's in front of me. And as a leader, as a manager, if I've still got my enthusiasm, and I'm still, the glass is always half full. But the way that I adapt my communication was the most important thing. So, for example, with the socializer personality, hey, as a manager, leader, I'm going to get excited with them. I'm going to allow them to be creative. I'm going to allow them to take an idea and run with it, and then, my director, I'm going to give them bottom line answers. I'm going to give them facts, figures, data, allow them choices, and they're going to stream ahead. And my relator is actually what makes up 60% of the workplace. We need our relators. They're the really, really nice people, but you have to spend time getting to know them and building rapport building that relationship with the relator, because they'll run over hot coals for you as long as you know about their dog who had that operation the other day, and you just checking in to see how the dog's going, because every second person in Colorado has a dog.
I'm one of those.
Yes. So basically, the effective communication unit ties beautifully into the ROLINC core value of empathy. And it is one of the chapters within my book, What Makes a Great Coach. It's one of the top 10 practices of the world's best coaches. And I do believe the leader as coach is the way of the future. So one of your core values being empathy. One of the things I love to say is you don't have to walk in my shoes. You just have to be able to walk alongside me, and can you see what I see? And I love that subtle distinction as it relates to belonging, as it relates to me understanding your map of the world. So therefore, playing to your strengths, knowing when significance is important, and knowing, the socializer personality loves uncertainty. The thinker hates uncertainty. So, it's part of the 6 human needs, but it's knowing what's going to work best when, and how can I adapt, not change who I am, but how can I adapt and subtly bring out the best in others by the words that I use and the questions that I ask and the space that I give somebody to bring out their best. Did that make sense?
It absolutely does. I love the way you tied it to empathy, and it made me think of these 6 human needs as everyone has them, but maybe they're in different orders, or maybe the way that they think of uncertainty isn't the way that someone else's perspective of uncertainty is.
Yeah, and can I say, I actually, on my own podcast, I did a little promo clip of exactly that, and offering to managers and leaders, simply ask the question, how would you like me to manage you? How do you learn best? How would you like feedback? How often would you like feedback? What do you think are the 6 human needs? Put them in the order that's most important to you. So there's no hard and fast rules in terms of, this is the guide, right? And I see it show up day in, day out, but I can't believe the simplicity of asking somebody a simple question. Oh, I'm not sure about that person's, what remote work works for them. Well, ask them. And I know that ROLINC and myself, we work a lot in manufacturing where it is all in person. It's not so much remote. You're on the shop floor. So knowing what that person needs to help with their motivation, just ask them, what motivates you? What's better in the morning? I know that sounds so simple, but questions really are the answer.
And it sounds simple, but I remember when you asked us, where would we fall in the thinker or the director or the relator, and where do we fall in the 6 human needs? And it seems simple, but I know for me personally, it was not really a simple question. It took some internal digging of, what do I learn best from, or what don't I like? So I think it gets your employees thinking too about, what do they want from you long term as well, which leads to that champion mindset, which is the final point today. So I'll let you dive into the champion mindset now.
Thank you. And I think the core values that ROLINC, just to round off your core values, passion is such a big one. It's, again, one of the top 10 practices of what makes a great coach. Integrity and humility just being those core values. And I think with those in mind, as we go into the champion mindset, what we looked at your company is the top 5 reasons of what all champions have in common. And then we also looked at the loser's edge. What are the top 5 reasons why champions fail? So this was in a sporting context. Okay. One of them was more taken from some research from my podcast, and another one was actually from a study. And what we had your managers and leaders do is rate themselves against on a scaling question from 0 to 10. For example, rate how much you believe in yourself and how much you believe in your people. So belief is an example of one of the top 5 things that top athletes have in common. Very, very important in the workplace. How much do you believe in yourself? How much do you believe in your team? And why that is so important is because at Open Door Coaching, the company that I very grateful for all my trainings with, and I bring their content here to the US, we believe in a strengths-based approach to empowering people. So helping people work in their strengths, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that that is a great way to not only motivate people, but they will be successful in their job. So that's one example. And then on the flip side, the loser's edge, one of the top reasons that athletes fail is their inability to change direction. So as a manager leader, again, ask yourself a scaling question from 0 to 10. 10 is amazing. What is your ability to adapt, be flexible, self-reflexivity in today's workplace? Give yourself a number. And with your team, how rigid is your team? Or how, are they more adaptable, flexible, can shift? Because as we know, everything is subtly changing and shifting all the time in today's landscape. So they're 2 specific examples of bringing out the champion mindset, which of course is the growth mindset. We know Carol Dweck's done all the work there. We don't need any more evidence to show that how you talk to yourself and how do you talk to others is so critical. And we do that through the art of reframing, which was another, I think, one of the big aha moments in the ROLINC training was the ability to reframe your language. So practical example, if something's gone wrong, why did you do that? Manager says, why did you do that? And that person will blame, justify, be negative, cause more problems, and maybe even quit. Whereas if a manager says, help me understand the choices you made and what you could do differently next time. So it's a totally, that was a stacked question, by the way. I made an unforced error there. As a leader, as a manager, be careful of what we call stacked questions, where you ask 3 questions in a row. So the first question would be, help me understand the choices that you made, pause, and then help me understand what would you do differently next time. So see, that's a future-based question, which links nicely into my TEDx talk on unleashing female potential, puts them in a future-based state. So that's called reframing. And it is a superpower. Again, it's one of our toolkits that we have to have on a daily basis. Because you think about it, the way you talk to yourself, your inner voice, I'm not talking about like woohoo, waha, crazy inner stuff. I'm talking about the voice that what you say to yourself when no one's listening, right? Becomes the strength of your ability to lead.
Yeah. Hearing you say these things, each piece relates back to another. To me, it's like the adaptability leads to resilience, which leads to you bringing belonging to the people you're encouraging on your team. And it just all seems to connect. But with that champion mindset that you're talking about and getting yourself to reframe thoughts, that goes to everyday life. So you've got to start with the voice inside your head before you worry about everyone else. And I think we've seen that in ROLINC, especially using your trainings, is the way we approach not I will, not I'm going to change, I am doing this, just reframing the way you speak to others and think about moving things forward, even in conversations. I love that. Taking a step back, let's only ask one question at a time. I am a loaded question person. So I love that approach too, just slowing it down.
Yeah. So just also when you do make an error, I always just call myself out on it, like I have done in this interview. I just say, oops, sorry, rewind. Let me ask that again. It's a way to grow. It's a way to learn. And as you know, I'm very practical, not only in my tools, learn through play is something that I think we've lost within the workplace as well. So within your trainings to teach resiliency, your team had to keep 2 balloons in the air without letting the balloons touch the ground. So it was, yes, it's a simple activity that you could do with, 2 to 5-year-olds, but the purpose, of course, was in how you're communicating with each other. How are you going to help each other? What questions do you need to ask to be more successful? And how can you just then embrace the activity, even though we were timing how long 2 balloons could stay in the air, to be able to get the message across. So I am a little bit of, people have called me the female version of Coach Ted Lasso. I've got my little believe jar here, and I've got my little fortune cookie. Every time the ROLINC people walked in the door, I said, do you want a wisdom quote or a Ted Lasso quote? So Jasmine, you get to choose today. Which one would you like?
Ooh, let's go with the Ted Lasso quote.
Okay, Ted Lasso quote. I'm going to pick the one from here. I don't know what it says. I just picked one randomly. I think that you might be so sure that you're 1 in a million that sometimes you forget out there you are just 1 in 11. So here he's talking about talent, right? Sometimes the most talented person think that they're 1 in a million. But when talent understands teamwork, great things can happen. And when we bring out the best in everybody on the team, we understand everybody's unique individual talents, then that's when exciting things can happen as it relates to talent retention, and talent thriving in the workplace. Not just keep your talent. How do you help them thrive? And that's what's going to help them stay connected to the job. So I love that quote. Of course, I love all the quotes.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Yes,
so then we blow the horn when we get excited. So there's some of the things that we do. But it's been awesome talking to you, Jasmine.
Me too. Like I said, our team had such a blast, not only just getting up out of our seats. You got us so involved, so engaged. Everyone was having a great time connecting with their team, but we were truly learning about each other and the way that we connect with each other, the way we each communicate. So we took so much out of it. We're still to this day using it. I'm glad to rehash it and go over it with you again because it's got me remotivated. So I appreciate you joining me today and helping out our ROLINC team. And I know you've worked with some of our clients and friends in the space that have had amazing things to say as well. Yeah, I want to start picking up tennis actually, so I might be coming to you for that next. That'll be an off screen, but
yes,
I appreciate it so much having you. It's so fun. I'm actually going to link all of your books, where they can find your trainings, how to get in touch with you in our post. So feel free to reach out to any of us at ROLINC. We can get you in touch with Coach M, but I will put all of her resources in this link and post as well. Any last thoughts or words you have for us, Coach M?
Of course, I'm not short of a word or two, but it's the only way I know how to be successful is that talent is not nearly as important as execution. So taking action. So if you're listening to this, what can you do for yourself in the next 24 hours? What could you do for one of your teammates or colleagues in the next 7 days? And what could you do to tap into human need number 6 for your community in the next 30 days? 24/7, 30. Take a moment, pause this video, write it down. Maybe there's just one. You don't have to do all 3. Just pick one thing. Perhaps it's something that you're more curious to learn about. Get in touch with Jasmine and or myself, and we can certainly guide you through anything that's sparked your curiosity. But to take action, the only way I know how to be successful is to take one step at a time, because the ball is in your court to take action. See you next time.
I love it. Thank you so much, Coach M. We'll talk to you again soon.
Bye.